Welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our flagship stations, 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99, where you can also find us in the Birmingham-Bloomfield area, on Birmingham area Municipal Access, and on City Cable 15 of Southfield. Join us live on Channel 10 every day in Waterford on the Media Network of Waterford, and live to tape on Channel 10 in Orion Township and Lake Orion on Orion Neighborhood Television or ONTV. You can also find us on the radio in the Birmingham-Bloomfield and Troy areas on 88.1 The Biff, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District. Find us online on our Facebook pages at Civic Center TV 15 and at Lakes FM, on our website at civiccentertv.com, and on My Michigan TV or MyMy at mymytv.com, where you can also learn more about downloading their free MyMy TV apps for your smartphones and smart TVs. All that information is on our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast. We can also find all of our programs on demand and each individual interview as well. Then let's head over to our news page at civiccentertv.com/local-news, where we have links to the most up-to-date information on COVID-19 from reliable expert resources at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division, so that you can stay up to date on everything you need to know about the spread of COVID-19, precautionary tactics that you may or may not need to employ in your daily life, depending on where you are at day to day, as well as vaccinations and booster shots should you be in need of getting vaccinated or getting a booster, and you may qualify for the second booster as well. Also on our news page at civiccentertv.com/local-news, we feature articles from many journalistic outlets throughout the state of Michigan in order to keep you updated on COVID-19 and other stories making headlines all throughout the Great Lakes state. Our top story today is from U Stella U of Bridge, Michigan. In a surprise, the term limit disclosure reform has headed to the Michigan ballot in November. After Michigan voters in November, will decide whether to change the state constitution to relax term limits and strengthen financial disclosure rules for elected officials after the legislature on Tuesday voted to place the issue directly on the ballot. Without debate, lawmakers in both chambers of Congress at the state level passed a resolution allowing the measure to skip requirements that backers gather more than 425,000 signatures in order to qualify for the ballot, a move that critics say will save organizers millions of dollars. Quote, essentially, the legislature is planning to give the lobbyists running this campaign the equivalent of $5 million to $7 million so that they would have needed for the petitions. Now they will have that money to use campaigning, said Scott Tillman, National Field Director for U.S. Term Limits, a national group advocating for term limits at every level of the government. Quote, it's a huge legislative giveaway and a direct conflict of interest for the seated legislators, end close quote, he said in an email on Monday. The votes came a day after a bipartisan coalition that pushed for the petition measure, Voters for Transparency and Term Limits, hosted a press conference urging lawmakers to act. Quote, the group is led by legislative power brokers, including Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan, the retired now former president of the Michigan Chamber of Commerce, Rich Studley, and Mark Gaffney, the former leader of the AFL-CIO. At least 3 other constitutional amendment proposals also seek to be placed on the November ballot, but must abide by signature requirements that are more costly this year because of a worker shortage and inflation. Quote, by putting transparency and term limit reform on the ballot in November, they are allowing the people of Michigan to play an important role in moving our state forward, Voters for Transparency and Term Limits said in a statement on Tuesday following the vote. The approved legislative resolution would allow lawmakers to serve up to a total of 12 years, regardless of which chamber, the House or the Senate, that they are serving in. Currently, state lawmakers can serve up to 6 years in the House and up to 8 years in the Senate, a requirement that makes Michigan's law among the strictest of the 15 states with term limits employed for the legislature. Under the resolution, however, most incumbents could remain in their chambers for longer, with the exception of members elected to the Senate this year. The proposal also would require the state's elected officials, including the governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, attorney general, and legislators, to disclose personal financial information such as sources of income and assets. Michigan is one of only 2 states that do not currently require their lawmakers to disclose any such information from their finances. Tuesday's vote was quote-unquote an ambush, said Patrick Anderson, who helped draft Michigan's term limits law in 1992 and is a member of the Term Limits Defense Fund. The issue did not appear on the tentative agenda for the legislature until Tuesday morning, and the resolution language was not publicly available until close to the voting period. Quote, the idea of the legislature ambushing the citizens is a disgrace, Anderson told Bridge, Michigan, continuing on saying, quote, the stench of this is going to last all the way to November, and closed quote. Following the vote, a Trojan horse was parked outside the state capitol atop a trailer with a billboard slamming the proposal, saying, quote, in all caps, don't fall, and then regular caps, for the, and again in all caps, lobbyists, term limits scam, it's a trap, and closed quote, it read. The proposal was approved 76-28 in the Michigan House and by a 26-6 vote in the Senate. Some lawmakers voted against the proposal because they opposed term limits. Quote, we were losing a lot of institutional knowledge, said Representative Sue Aller, a three-term Wolverine Republican who voted no. Continuing on, the representative said, quote, I feel that it's up to the voters to do term limits through the ballot box by voting, and closed quote. This includes weakened disclosure rules. Despite similarities to the petition language, the personal finance disclosure requirements approved by the legislature appear weaker than those pushed by the petition group. Among other things, the measure approved by the legislature would only require officials to disclose descriptions of assets and quote-unquote sources of income. The petition drive would have required disclosures of, quote, assets and unearned income and, quote, earned income as well. It only requires officials to adhere to state law and report payments from registered lobbyists. The petition drive would have made them disclose all gifts, travel payments, and reimbursements that officials received. Lawmakers also removed the provision from the petition that would have held state officials at the same disclosure standards as Congress. McBroom told reporters Tuesday that stricter requirements could discourage qualified candidates, saying, quote, you have a lot of people who are running for office who still have to maintain their business, he said. To be disclosing everything about the business may be, one, harmful to that business and therefore dissuasive on good people running for office, and closed quote. McBroom said tying the proposed constitutional amendment to state law makes it easier for legislators to update the laws. Had lawmakers laid out specifics in the constitutional amendment, he said, changes would require support from 2/3 of lawmakers or another ballot proposal. Quote, it's unwise to bake in super detailed law into our Constitution, he said. Constitutions are a framework, and then you have laws. And then when something doesn't work, when there's a problem with a law, the voters can demand it be changed, and closed quote. That means if the state law on lobbyist disclosures were to change in the future and abolish lobbyist disclosure requirements on gifts and travel payments, for instance, lawmakers would have to make any of those disclosures, wouldn't have to make any of those disclosures either. DeSandro, the House spokesperson, told Bridge no other state directly applies the congressional standards, which he said do not necessarily apply to Michigan lawmakers. Members of Congress, for instance, are required to disclose stocks because they have access to information that could quote-unquote manipulate the market, DeSandro said. Michigan lawmakers, however, do not have that power. Quote, here a state rep is more likely to have a day job and be a legislator, DeSandro said, continuing on. The rules here maybe have more to do with secondary income or positions, and close quote. The term limits petition group supports the changes, said campaign spokesperson Josh Pugh, saying, quote, the current language requires state officials to disclose their sources of income, holdings, trips, and gifts from lobbyists, such as the right standard that all conflicts of interest are transparent, Pugh wrote in a text. Representative Abraham Aish, a Democrat from Hamtramck, voted against the resolution, saying disclosure rules, quote, did not go far enough, and closed quote. Quote, we are simply saying we are going to pass a slimmed-down version of personal finance disclosure. We're going to tie that with the allure of less overall years to serve in the state legislature in the hopes that the people would accept it, and closed quote. Also making headlines on civiccentertv.com/local-news from Jennifer Chambers of the Detroit News. No independent review of the Oxford High School shooting will happen until litigation is over, a board official has said. An independent review of Michigan's deadliest school shooting at Oxford High School will not be conducted until criminal and civil litigation is over, Oxford School Board President Tim Donnelly announced on Tuesday. Donnelly also said Oxford Community Schools will again decline an offer for a third-party review from attorney Attorney General Dana Nessel's office of the November 30th mass shooting that took the life of 4 students. 6 students and a teacher were also wounded in the massacre. Quote, given the nature and the breadth of the current criminal and civil proceedings, the review of the tragedy and the associative events of November 30th, 2021 will not occur until the criminal and civil litigations are complete, in closed quote, Donnelly said Tuesday during a school board meeting. Donnelly continued on by saying, quote, once the litigation process is completed and all information has risen to the surface, a team of experts will conduct a third-party review. Our subcommittee has begun the process of vetting those officials, in closed quote. Donnelly said the Oakland County prosecutor and sheriff have information about the incident that the district does not have and does not know. Quote, it would be ill-advised for us to start a third-party investigation if we don't know the facts, in closed quote. After the shooting, the district told the community it would conduct a third-party review. Donnelly acknowledged that many in the community have demanded that the district begin a review of what happened on November the 30th of last year and what can be done to prevent it from recurring. He said, quote, we are not changing anything. We are evolving on how this should be accomplished. We are modifying it, in closed quote. Donnelly said the district never defined the third-party process in December when it committed to undertaking one. He says the review as he sees the review as having 2 key components, the November 30th tragedy and the district's 3-year recovery plan, which is now under development by Superintendent Ken Weaver and his administration. Quote, we see this as several independent reviews, not one, Donnelly said, end closed quote. Lori Bourgeau, a parent of an Oxford high school student, said the district's decision to delay the independent investigation until litigation has ended tells her everything that she needs to know. Quote, we need protection from your poor judgment, she said, continuing on. You should all resign immediately and allow board members who have our students' safety and security as a top priority step in and take over because you are clearly concerned about you and not us, end closed quote. Several parents, including Steve St. Juliana, the father of Hannah St. Juliana, one of 4 students killed in the rampage in November, said they were outraged no independent investigation has been conducted nearly 6 months after the shooting. Quote, I think that the board's decision speaks volumes on its own as to its priorities, St. Juliana said. Attorney General Dana Nessel offered to conduct an independent investigation into the events leading up to the shooting for the first time in December. The district declined. Nessel's office offered again to conduct an investigation, the cost of which would be borne by her office. It would also not interfere with the criminal case against the suspected shooter, she said. Last week, a school board subcommittee was created to consider a third-party review. Candidates held 2 public meetings, but has yet to formally recommend or present options to the full board. According to meeting minutes, the subcommittee has held discussions with 4 companies, New York-based Guidepost Solutions, Safe Havens International in Georgia, Baltimore-based Jensen Hughes, and ATAP Security in California. The board heard from school safety and security expert Jason Russell, who has been working with the district to develop strategies for the district to continue to improve the safety and security of its schools. Russell's company, Secure Education Consultant, is an expert in the field of emergency planning. Russell told the board he has assessed thousands of districts across the nation, saying, quote, this district is in the top and was in the top of this. That is the reality. There are things we can improve, Russell said. Russell said he also added speakers for better communication, cameras, and technology at schools to increase safety and is planning a pilot project of a weapons detector in the school later this year. Quote, it's what Disney uses. You don't have to take everything out of your bag, end closed quote, he said. Lastly, making headlines on civiccentertv.com/local-news from Ryan Ford of the Detroit Free Press. Detroit Pistons legend, 8-time All-Star Bob Lanier has died at 73 years old. Lanier, who had a stellar career with the Pistons in the 70s, was hampered both by injuries and his desire for a title, and unfortunately has died at 73 after a short bout with illness, the NBA announced on Tuesday night. Lanier, taken with the first overall pick by the Pistons in 1970 out of St. Bonaventure, spent parts of 10 seasons with the franchise, averaging 22.7 points per game, 11.8 rebounds, and 3.3 assists per game over 681 games playing in the Motor City. He then played parts of 5 seasons with the Milwaukee Bucks while hunting for a championship that eluded him at both the collegiate and pro levels. He ended his NBA career in 1984 with averages of 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 assists per game. just about. An 8-time All-Star, Lanier was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in 1992. That came despite at least 8 serious knee injuries, including one before he even signed his rookie deal with the Pistons. An ACL tear suffered in St. Bonaventure's Elite Eight victory over Villanova on March 4th, 1970, kept him out of the NCAA tournament's national semifinal, lost by the Bonnies a few days later. The Pistons then drafted him in late March, then reportedly signed him to his contract from his hospital bed after having knee surgery. Quote, "I've always admired him because he comes to play with injuries," said Chris Ford, a teammate of Lanier's with the Pistons from 1972 to 79 to the Free Press in 1983. Ford continued on saying, quote, "He's the guy who'd do anything to win. He's never been with a winner, unfortunately, but he is a winner." Lanier finished among the top 10 in NBA MVP voting 4 times during the 70s, a decade in which he gained fame for his battles in the middle with Bucks and Los Angeles Lakers star Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. His excellence during a turbulent decade for the league included a 4th-place finish in 1976-77 and a 3rd-place finish in the 73-74 season, the season he was named MVP of the NBA All-Star Game. The Pistons owner Tom Gores released a statement on Lanier's death early on Wednesday morning saying, quote, "The Detroit Pistons organization is deeply saddened by the passing of Bob Lanier, a true legend who meant so much to the city of Detroit and to generations of Pistons fans. As a fierce and dominant player as Bob was on the court, he was equally kind and impactful in the community." The Pistons retired Lanier's number 16 jersey number on January 9th, 1993. Current NBA Commissioner Adam Silver remembered the basketball legend who remained active in the game even after he retired by saying, quote, "Bob Lanier was a Hall of Fame player and among the most talented centers in the history of the NBA, but his impact on the league went far beyond what he accomplished on the court. For more than 30 years, Bob served as our global ambassador and as a special assistant to David Stern, former commissioner, and then me, traveling the world to teach the game's values and make a positive impact on young people everywhere. It was the labor of love for Bob, who was one of the kindest and most genuine people I have ever been around. His enormous influence on the NBA was also seen during his time as president of the National Basketball Players Association, where he played a key role in negotiations of a game-changing collective bargaining agreement. I learned so much from Bob by simply watching how he connected with people. He was a close friend who I will miss dearly, as will so many of his colleagues across the NBA who are inspired by his generosity. We send our condolences to Bob's family and friends." Despite the chance to contend for championships with the Bucks, Milwaukee won its division every year with Lanier, but never advanced past the conference finals. Leaving Detroit, however, was not easy for Lanier. He said, quote, "When I got on that plane, I cried like a baby," he said in 1993. Continuing on, "I asked for the trade, but my blood and my guts were Pistons." Lanier won the NBA's J. Walter Kennedy Citizenship Award for the 1977-78 season for outstanding community service. Following his playing career, he helped start the NBA's Stay in School campaign and participated in other outreach for the league. All those headlines, including more from the Detroit Free Press on the passing of Pistons legend and NBA legend Bob Lanier on our website, civiccentertv.com/local-news, as well as those ever helpful links from the MDHHS, the CDC, and the Oakland County Health Division. We have a great program ahead on this Wednesday edition of the Megacast. Coming up next, we'll get motivated with Mindset Life Coach Stacey Renee, and then at the bottom of the hour, we'll get you upcoming high school grads ready for a productive summer with college and career counselor Noelle Essig from West Bloomfield High School. That's all up next on the Oakland County Megacast.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. Learn more about the program at civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll also find information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV. Okay, I'll try to say it a little quieter. The winter cold and blues seems to be gone. Sun's out. Society is starting to slowly get back out there from the throes of the days of COVID-19 isolations. So what better time to get motivated and reshape how you think in order to live a more positive lifestyle? Joining us now is motivational strategy speaker and mindset life coach Stacey Renee, once again on the Megacast. Stacey, thank you for being with us.
Hi, I'm thrilled to be here again. Thanks so much, Tyler, for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the program. It's been a little while since we talked to you. How have you been in the few months since since we've had you on the Megacast?
Things are great. Sun is shining. It's beautiful. And who doesn't enjoy the spring, summer after the winter blues and, kind of getting ourselves back. And we just have a lot to think about as the summer comes, right? Boating season, short season.
Yeah.
We have to get ourselves in the right mindset.
Yeah, it's an interesting time, too, because we are also still slowly but surely coming out from behind the Omicron variant surge of COVID-19, which sent people back kind of into the throes of isolation or being a little more weary of being out and about and communicating with others, which can have an impact on your motivation, can have an impact on whether or not you have a very positive outlook or kind of a moderate outlook or a negative outlook on your life and on the greater world. And also, it also brings up an interesting quandary too, because as we're coming back out and readjusting to what normal life was before COVID-19 in some senses, that's a big adjustment for a lot of people, and it's going to be a big adjustment for a lot of people. And some may feel rushed, or some may feel like they're behind on getting back out and socializing, and that can also have a big effect on their mood and on their motivation. What advice do you have for people as they're starting to get back out and they clamor to have a more social life once again, but at their own pace?
Well, we all have our own individual struggles and our own circumstances. And for anyone to compare, how they are personally to somebody else will have a different outcome. And if somebody is just coming out, going out to more social events, it's going to feel weird at first because you're used to your boundaries, and that's okay. Whether you go to an event and you only stay an hour just to kind of get yourself primed, get motivated, but just remember whatever you do is going to be in your head. And if you're uncomfortable and you're sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? I should be at home. You're putting that mind chatter in your head. So stop for just a moment, take your time and breathe and say, you know what? I'm here. I can do an hour. I can make it through this event tonight, and put the positive thoughts, things that you want to happen. Unless you truly want to go home, then you should just go home. But, just like anything in life, learning how to ride a bike, learning how to write, learning a new skill is going to take time. And that is not something that is a new ideal for any of us. We all have to get back in the swing of it. And if you do notice someone who may be a little bit uncomfortable, open your arms up, reach out to that person, and maybe take that confidence that you have and give it to them so they can be more comfortable and engage in some conversation and make them feel like, oh, I should be here. And again, it's all in your mind, how you are feeling and what you're going to allow to get into your thoughts. So change the negative to a positive, always makes you feel better.
Yeah, it's all about reframing the situation that you're in or the outlook of the task you have in front of you, whether that be something social or be work related or just be a general something in your life. It's all about the way that you think about it. And so what are some of your strategies for taking those situations and beginning that process of reframing, because it's easy to say, take a negative and turn it into a positive, or it's easy to say, try to look at this in a more beneficial manner than in the manner of the drawbacks. But how do you get that process started for someone, especially somebody that may be out there that tends to have a more negative initial thought on things?
Right. You create your own reality. If you are going somewhere and you're like, I don't want to go, I'm gonna have a crappy time, and I don't even know why I'm doing this. The clothes that I'm wearing aren't even, I don't know. And you already have that mental mentality and feeling that way, then guess what? You are gonna have a really awful time. So before you leave the house, go into the mirror, look at yourself, and be grateful, because there's a lot of people out there that would love to be able to go to the event or go wherever you're going, and they're bedridden. They can't get out of bed. They can't do what they need to do. And so I want you to really refrain and think about what you need to be grateful for, and say a positive mantra before you go out. I am awesome, smart, successful. I succeed at what I put my mind to. I am awesome. Every moment of this evening is getting better, better, and better. And you put that mindset out there for yourself. So if you're having that struggle, my biggest thing is CCD, cancel, clear, delete. Say it 3 times. Cancel, clear, delete. Cancel, clear, delete. Cancel, clear, delete. Look at yourself. Say, I am awesome, successful, and smart. I succeed at what I put my mind to, and my mind is gonna have an awesome time at where I'm going tonight. And I want to point out that there's a couple statistics that we're facing in today's society, and it's distraction. Half of what we're doing is we are distracted. There was a big study that was done, and 47% of the people around saying that they are distracted or what they're doing, and they're not really focused. Can you imagine what you could accomplish if you, turn your phone off, be present in the moment and stop being distracted, truly listen, because we don't do enough of that now, because we're mind chattering of how we're going to respond. What are we going to say? So, kind of eliminate your mind chatter, stop being distracted. The second one is loneliness. 76% of people are lonely. And that's a hard statistic to really think of. So if you're not going out to events and you're not going out to things, you're part of that 76% of being lonely. And the number 3 thing is negative self-talk and depression. We're seeing a lot of mental health and depression issues where suicide has gone up. The thoughts of what is the purpose on life, which brings me to number 4 is huge. I mean, huge for 2021, 2022, and who knows how many years in the future, is the loss of meaning and purpose in life. And I think that's a really important statistics and thing to think about. I have it right here, and I want to make sure that I get this correct. The lack of perfection and purpose in life can lead to an early death. And people in their 60s with low purpose in life are 2 times more likely to die within 5 years. Yeah, take that. So, your mindset is really a lot in the way of the future. And that's something that we need to be more mindful of. And, that's why there's people like me, is to help you get focused, get refrained, re-accomplish what you want to be, and put yourself out there. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain from respecting, caring, loving yourself. Stop comparing yourself to other people, because that is when you're going to go down. Everybody's circumstances are different.
Yeah, and it's also important to recognize that transition to a more positive mindset, or your ability to reframe things, is also going to be a work in progress, because you got to develop strategies that are, they're based on proven strategies, or they're based on strategies that work for a lot of other people, but you tailor those over time to yourself, and eventually find some things that do work. And when you find those things that work, you really lean into them. But you also have to understand this is not going to be some fix that happens suddenly or happens overnight, because these are habits. And to break habits, you've got to slowly but surely develop new ones and make them part of your regular life.
Absolutely. And if you can, here's a couple actions that you can take. One, you can put a sticky note up on your mirror, in your car, by your office, by your computer, that gives you something positive to think about. So when you start to get in that mindset, look at your sticky note. Also, 3 times a day, just start with this for 21 days, 3 minutes a day. 3 minutes a day. I want for you to think about all the things that you're grateful for, all the things that you want. Do not let any don't wants in there, because it will start to create, again, your negative habit. And you're trying to change that habit. So 3 minutes a day, whether you're brushing your teeth, whether you're in the car, whether you're going to bed, take 3 minutes, refocus, think about all the things you're grateful for, and do that consistently for 21 days or longer, because then that's how you're creating a new habit. You're rewiring your brain. And they did a study where, someone started to learn something, and they took brain pictures of their brain, and within 30 minutes, they saw physical changes from the first photo to the second photo. So there is scientific proof that you can change your wiring in your brain. And I want you to stop and think of where you are in your life right now. Seriously, think for one moment. Where are you? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you miserable? That is whatever your life situation is what you are creating for yourself. The only way that you can change your situation is to start thinking positive, thinking about, again, what you want, and creating your new space. If something makes you very upset, well, then it no longer serves you. If you have friends that are not positive to you, they no longer serve you. Move on. You're in control of your whole self, your whole life, who you talk to, what you say. And those are all very powerful steps to becoming a better you and being in the present moment. Just like summer coming, we all are going to be getting in swimsuits, like I said earlier, and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, what happened to me? Not all of us, but there's a huge handful of us that are feeling that way. And you know what? I want you to own it. This is who you are in the present moment. Be healthy, because you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. You never know what you're going to have. And until you start your own new habits, hey, it's going to take time, but love yourself. And when you start loving yourself, you'll become happy. And when happiness is there in your life, everything else is going to change for the better. So start somewhere. I know you can do it. And I'm readily available to help you.
The website is StaceyRenee.com. That's StaceyRenee.com, or just search Stacey Renee, and you can look up her website, get in contact for more help on changing to a more positive outlook and taking that positive shift. She is a motivational strategy speaker and mindset life coach, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. Stacey, how much does the weather, now that we're in the spring and that we're heading toward the summer, it's been more consistently nice outside, it's been warm, people have been outside, how does that factor in to making some of these changes in your life? How can you take these next, 3-4 months or so that's going to be nice like this most of the time, and really put the pedal to the metal on making those lifestyle changes?
Well, you can only start by yourself. So what actions are you going to take today? When you get up in the morning, are you going to grab your phone and see what everybody else is doing on social media? No, you're not going to pick up your phone. You're not going to check your emails. You're going to take that 10, 15 minutes for yourself, grab a cup of coffee, go outside. I don't care if you're standing in your doorway, soak in the sunshine, listen to the birds, look at the buds on the tree. I want for you to have that moment and look at all the beautiful things that you are taking for granted and show some appreciation, because it will start your day off so much better. Get out and do things. Put the things, like sitting on your couch, sit outside, because it does have a lot of value to have the sunshine on you, with SPF, of course. You need that. No one wants to get burnt. And just think it's about being mindful, caring about yourself, not doing what others want you to do, because when that happens, let's just go sit on the couch in here. No, so you know what? Let's go out and let's sit outside. Go for a bike ride, go for a walk, because someone that is in a neighborhood of yours, a friend of yours, might be needing that little extra push. And if you need it, I'm sure somebody else does. Have an accountability partner to go out. And I'm telling you, it does not have to be an hour. Get that out of your head. If you can get out and get 15, 20 minutes, for goodness sake, stand outside for 5 minutes. That is a game changer for your mental stability, how you feel, your emotions, your thoughts. And again, a positive thought in the morning will make your whole day better. And who doesn't want to feel good? Who doesn't want to feel good around good people? Because those viruses that are in your offices, or those viruses were the people, and those are the people who make you feel bad. The virus to me is like a negative person, is how I like to say it. So think about that. Just try and have a different outlook on life and enjoy the weather, because as we are here, you don't get this weather 24/7. So enjoy it.
Stacey, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. The website, again, StaceyRenee.com. That's StaceyRenee.com. Keep up to date with Stacey Renee and get motivated if you need some help from her services at StaceyRenee.com. We're going to take a break here on the Oakland County Megacast. When we come back, we'll be joined by an expert who has some advice for you upcoming high school seniors and college freshmen, soon-to-be college freshmen, on how to make this summer productive and best prepare for college admissions and even beginning that next chapter of your young lives. That's next. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Whether you're the city,
The county.
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
We work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
a rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. To learn more about the program at civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV, otherwise known as My. Joining us now is Noelle Essig, college and career counselor at West Bloomfield High School. As the school year wraps up, kids get themselves ready to graduate, and others get ready for some big life decisions and processes, such as college applications, college decisions, and making the big move. Noelle, thank you for joining us.
Hi, Tyler. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So as we get ready to end the school year, what are some of the most important things that need to be done right now for those that are high school seniors, but even those that are soon to be upperclassmen or even seniors next year, to put their best foot forward for their future, whether that be going on to college or a trade or into the workforce, or just being ready for senior year, which is a big year for these students?
Yeah, that's a huge question.
Yeah.
So to address our current seniors that are often graduating, the most important thing that I'm finding right now is just helping those seniors as they've made that decision as to what college they're going to go to, really fine-tuning, making sure they're reading all the nitty-gritty details in terms of housing, in terms of deposits, orientation programs that the universities are hosting, registering for classes. It's been interesting this past week. Students have made their decisions and then they just kind of feel like, okay, now I can rest. And really the hard work becomes making sure that they are ticking off all the to-do lists that the colleges and universities have. And that's the same even for our students going off into our skilled trades or the military. There's checklists, there's things that need to happen. And we just really encourage those students to read the fine details. If they're not sure what they're going to do next year, we might have some students that are choosing to enter the world of work. You know, there's a wonderful program here in our community called Michigan Works that can help recent graduates with finding their career pathways as well. So that's our outgoing seniors. For our rising seniors, our current juniors, we're busy at our high school right now, making sure our students have a plan for, testing if they're going to need ACT or SAT tests, visiting college campuses this summer, fine-tuning that resume, adding things to it if they need volunteer experience, and then relaxing and recharging the battery, knowing that that senior year is a very busy year. We want our students to take full advantages of just kind of shutting down for a little while and kind of being ready to go once the fall hits.
We're joined by Noelle Essig, the College and Career Counselor at West Bloomfield High School, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. And so we know that the summers are important academically for students to get rest, but not necessarily lay off of their academics, get themselves fresh, but still be in tune academically for the upcoming school year. A lot of summer reading, maybe some other summer homework, summer school also an option. But for those that are at the lower levels in the high school, for the freshmen and the sophomores, and even those rising juniors, how important is the summer for them and getting ready for the next step after high school, even really when they're early on in their high school experience? Those summers, that time can be really important in their future decisions.
I agree with you. The summer can really be a chance to build the resume. You know, for a lot of our students during the school year, they're really bogged down with extracurricular involvements here at our school, the academics, maybe sports. The summer is a chance to really enhance your resume, potentially, that you're going to show to colleges, universities, employers. So I love when students take advantage of volunteering locally in the community. I love when students get a job. And I think when we talk to colleges and universities and employers, those summer job experiences, no matter what they are, I don't know what kind of job you had, Tyler, when you were a student, but even if you're scooping ice cream all summer long, you're learning potentially customer service skills. You're learning budgeting, time management. Talk to your employer, find out if there's ways that you could get involved with social media marketing or whatever your career interest might be. Those are just great life experiences. And I find that many times those summer experiences are what students write about in their college application essays. So really, finding a need, volunteering, and again, things don't have to be these big glamorous things. You can find a need within your community, in your neighborhood, and do a local, beautification. That's a great thing. Again, just finding a way to do something different to help enhance that resume.
And so you mentioned that the colleges are really take positively to this job experience, and also, of course, to the volunteer experiences that kids can get over the summers. And so through the school districts like West Bloomfield, or even through Oakland County schools, or through other school districts in the area, and in your discussions with your colleagues, what sort of assistances are available for students that may be looking for summer work that they may be able to get through their school? Certainly the volunteer opportunities are also there.
Yeah, so in my building, I have a Counselor Connection newsletter that I push out twice a month to all of our students and parents, and it's on our website. Those of you listening in, if you go to the WBHS counseling website and look at Counselor Connection, we post jobs. So people in our community create a flyer. I cut and paste it. I put it on there. I put it in our newsletter and advertise it to our students. But really, in this job market right now, where employers, most companies are looking for summertime help desperately. I always say to students, think about where you would like to spend your time this summer and walk in and ask if you can apply for a summer job. It's not that hard to find a summer job right now.
Yeah, lots of positions are open across many different sectors. They're looking for people. They're looking for anyone they can train and have working there for a number of different hours over the summer. So always a good opportunity. We're joined by Noelle Essig, College and Career Counselor at West Bloomfield High School, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. You can keep up to date with the College and Career Career Center through West Bloomfield High School on their Twitter page at WBHS Counseling, as well as on the website, the school district's website, WBSD.org. And so for students that are preparing for applying for school or will be applying for school over the summer months, what advice does your office have, and what assistances does your office and other offices similar in school districts throughout the area have in place for students and for families in assisting them with that process? Because it's a big process, it's an arduous process, a lot goes into it beyond the searching and just filling out the forms. What sort of assistance is there to help these families through these really important but rigorous processes?
Yeah, so for students within West Bloomfield, having someone in my position, it's pretty unique, and more school districts are putting in place someone devoted to the college and career placement process. And we have an amazing counseling team in our building, and we work in tandem. We work together to support our students beautifully. So again, for most schools, reaching out to that school counselor is a great resource for you. We in our building right now, I'm busy doing college prep workshops on all those topics that you just talked about. Asking for letters of recommendation, how to send your transcripts, how to search out scholarships, what the financial aid process is like. And then we run a college application boot camp prior to the start of school. I think many schools in our area do something similar. We do it during Jumpstart a couple weeks before school starts, and we walk our kids through that process so that they leave fully feeling supported and knowing how to fill out those college applications. And we are very honest with our students, like, we are here to support you, but we cannot fill those out for you. The support is there. And we'll run workshops throughout the school year as well. Yeah, and probably the number one place if you're feeling lost where to go is to reach out to your counseling office.
We're joined by Noelle Essig, the college and career counselor at West Bloomfield High School, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. Keep up to date with the school district, including the high school's counseling office and career office, by visiting WBSD.org. You can also follow the West Bloomfield High School College and Career Center by visiting Twitter, on their Twitter page at WBHS Counseling. That's at WBHS Counseling. For more tips, tricks, and help along the year for West Bloomfield High School families, as well as other high school families throughout the area. A lot of this information is very generally helpful to students and families throughout the local area. Noelle, in terms of testing preparation, the school district also provides some information on helping students with preparing for those tests as they're looking forward to their college admission processes and submitting those applications, maybe doing interviews, sending those test scores off. We know during the pandemic, a lot of these schools were relieving some of those requirements for certain test scoring ranges in order to get in. Is that going to be something that persists going forward now that things are starting to transition back to some semblance of normalcy? Do you imagine that colleges will slowly transition to having those be a more critical factor as they've been in the past?
Right now, all indications are telling us that things will remain the same. So the majority of colleges that during the pandemic declared themselves as test optional have stayed that way. We really don't anticipate a lot of colleges changing their mind on that. So when it comes to testing and test prep, I'm not at a point yet where I'm 100% telling students don't worry about it, because I do find that many scholarship organizations are still using test scores as a means of giving out scholarships. So I like students to give the test a try, see if those test scores help supplement their application. If they don't, then we take full advantage of test optional. There's a wonderful tool called the Common Data Set, and every college has this. So all you would need to do is Google the name of the college with the word Common Data Set, and you look for Section C. Section C will show you information about last year's incoming freshman class. So this is where me as a professional, we go when we research a school. When a student comes to me and says, Mrs. Essig, should I send this score to Duke? Well, we Google it, Common Data Set. We look to see what their average test scores of admitted students were from the last year's cycle. And if those scores are at or above, then we can say, okay, yep, it probably helps your application to send it. If they're at or below it, then we say, let's take full advantage of test optional. So there definitely can be a strategy. But I'm not at a point anymore where I feel like students have to be spending thousands and thousands of dollars with test prep and many, many hours over the summer, because in reality, they may not even use that score to begin with. But I do think it's good to give it some test prep, do the best you can, and then consult with your counselor or myself, and we can kind of just determine if we need to keep going or if we can just say, okay, we're good.
We're joined by Noelle Essig, a college and career counselor at West Bloomfield High School, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. More information on the school district's website, wbsd.org, or by following the Counseling and Career Office, Career Center on their Twitter page, at WBHS Counseling. That's at WBHS Counseling. And Noelle, just a few more minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. As high school juniors, those rising seniors, as you said, get ready for their senior year. They come into it knowing that it's, of course, their last year in high school. A lot of them will have either have applied to colleges, maybe gotten into many of them, maybe even made their decision. And at that time, we often see in a lot of cases that they take their foot off the gas. They're not as aggressive in their academic pursuits. Maybe they get a little lackadaisical. That can have an impact on their college life too, especially for those who maybe haven't made their decisions yet or who are getting deferred admission. How important is senior year in securing your place in a college or in a trade or in other pursuits that you may have after high school?
Yeah, I love that you brought this up. Thank you, Tyler, because we have some serious cases of senioritis going on right now among our seniors, where they're just kind of shutting down and they feel like, well, I've already been admitted to my school. I know where I'm going. And I always remind students, number one, this is, many of our students, you've worked hard. This reflects on that final GPA, that final transcript. But if you get to a school and you decide to transfer, there could be a chance that the college that you'd like to transfer to wants to still see this high school GPA from your senior year. So don't let up yet. We have seen in some cases, if a student totally bombs out that last semester of senior year, kids have to realize that colleges still need to see a final transcript, a proof of graduation. So in a rare circumstance, if a student totally bombs out, a college could revoke admission, and that would be heartbreaking for students. So, again, I'm just always a person that believes, finish strong or stronger than you ever have. It's just for us, for seniors, it's just a few more weeks, but you just never know where your path will lead you. So you always want to resist that senioritis that seems to kick in that senior year. It does matter. Yeah,
and those habits will follow you too into what you do next. If you are academically strong, you build good habits throughout your high school experience, and then you take your foot off the gas in the senior year, you get relaxed, that becomes a habit that can have a big impact on you staying in your school later on.
I agree.
Noelle, anything else for us before we let you go today?
No, one thing that I forgot to mention when you were asking about resources, for the West Bloomfield juniors and seniors, we have a Canvas page, a College and Career Center Canvas page. There's all sorts of different modules that I put in there, lots of educational videos about the entire process. So please make sure you're making use of Canvas as well. But just know that your counselors are here to support you. I'm so grateful, Tyler, that you had me on to talk about such an important topic. Thank you.
Yeah, summer is an important time of year, and it's important that these students have this advice and know that there are resources there to help them across the board with a number of different things as they prepare for their senior year or prepare for life after their senior year. Noelle, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler.
We're going to take a break on the Oakland County Megacast. When we come back, we'll be talking about an upcoming celebration of Black history and other programs and projects happening in West Bloomfield Township with Township Trustee Jonathan Warshay. That's coming up next on the Michigan Megacast.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
To Sofia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes, they stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Welcome to the Michigan Megacast on your radio homes for the program 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more about the program at civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV, located at mymytv.com. Joining us now on the program is Jonathan Warshay, West Bloomfield Township trustee. Jonathan, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Tyler.
Appreciate having you on. So you are a West Bloomfield Township trustee. You've been serving on that for a number of years now. What inspired you to run for Township Board and serve your local community?
Well, my family's always had service, whether it's organizations or whatever. I lived in Ferndale for 20 years and actually did a term on the city council at that point, helping to move that city along. And when I moved to West Bloomfield, I saw all the good things that are happening in terms of environment and community spirit, and I just wanted to participate that way, and it turned out to be an opening, and I've been elected now twice as a trustee, and really enjoy working with the others to serve the residents.
At the forefront of many of the minds of West Bloomfield residents, and certainly those working in the township and associated with the township, are, like you said, those issues on environmental matters. There's such a focus in the township on protecting its natural woodlands and wetlands and all natural areas, and on the parks in the township. For you as a leader, and really with all the trustees and the full-time elected officials, the clerk, the treasurer, and the township supervisor, just how strong of a focus do you as the leaders of this community put on maintaining that environmental quality and sustainability in West Bloomfield Township, and what are some efforts that are currently being made to support that focus?
Well, right now we have actually an opening on the environmental board that's till the 21st applications are being accepted. So we're certainly asking folks who are interested in that area to apply so we can consider them. We filled one recently, and as I said, we have another one to fill. But the important thing is that people love the natural beauty of West Bloomfield, and that's our wetlands and woodlands. And so the board is really concerned with making sure that they're there for everyone. So one of the things that I particularly look at, I'm also on the planning commission, is when we're approving something, how will that affect the wetlands and the woodlands? And can the person who's requesting something change to accommodate those things? So I personally will not vote to approve something that's going to cause harm. And in the same vein, I'm also concerned with affordable housing, because many of the more recent developments are really out of the price range of many people. And we want to have younger people come into West Bloomfield who can afford to raise their families and not require, six-figure incomes from both to do that.
And so where does that challenge, how does that challenge then be addressed by the township board and by its auxiliary boards like the planning commission? As these projects are coming in and you want to attract younger families that are going to put roots down in West Bloomfield and participate in the community and continue those traditions, how do you balance that out with also the fact that many of these properties, they're just that, they're properties, they're owned by these different entities, and they have every right to do it as they please to a certain extent on these different lands. How do you balance that out as a leader in the community and with other leaders in the community to ensure that the future of the township then is being properly addressed?
Well, you're right that many of them do own the properties, and in many cases they have the right, as long as they're following the rules, to build as they wish. Where we have much stronger influences when they're asking for some type of rezoning or a special land use. And when they're asking for those, then the township has influence in what they're doing, and we can ask them to pursue policies that are more protect more environmentally sensitive areas than they might normally would, or perhaps do things to make the development more affordable to people. So where the law gives us that type of influence, that's where I and others on the board can exercise that influence to make sure that those interests are safeguarded.
And so going back to the auxiliary boards, the boards and the commissions that work on a different number of issues in the township, such as the Planning Commission, the ZBA, the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Environmental Commission, other commissions as well. Those take a lot of time, and a lot of effort that's coming from citizens of those township of that township, or in other communities, at their cities, at their villages. Same thing there. Can you talk about the importance of having people within the community that are willing to take on those challenges, and just how great of a community effort it is in the municipality to maintain the sanctity of that municipality and why it's so important for when those opportunities arise for people to serve on these boards, that people that take that interest and are willing to provide their time to help their neighbors out.
Well, I can tell you that certainly some of those packets that the members of those boards have to review can be hundreds of pages. I've seen some meeting agendas that are 600 pages, and it's quite a lot of material to go through. So the residents who serve on those boards, certainly they need to be motivated for their service. They also, it really helps when they have the type of expertise in that area, whether it's land use, environmental regulation. They certainly don't have to be someone with years behind them doing that type of work, but they have to have some type of experience, at least in the area, whether it's reading plans or understanding of rules, or even just what it takes to look out for the interests of the community. And all those things are different depending on which board it is. And we look for people who will look out for everyone in West Bloomfield, not just one particular area.
We're joined by Jonathan Warshay, West Bloomfield Township Trustee, on the Michigan Megacast. For more information, keep up to date with the township and learn more about some of those openings on boards and commissions as they arise at wbtownship.org. That's wbtownship.org. And we also highly encourage you in your town, in your city, in your village, that if you have an opportunity to serve your community on one of these boards, you look into it, because they're important in every single community. They are critical to the present and to the future of those communities as well. In West Bloomfield in particular, where we're talking to one of the township trustees, Jonathan Warshay. That's wbtownship.org for more information, wbtownship.org. Jonathan, last year in June was the inaugural Juneteenth celebration in West Bloomfield. It's happening again this year. Can you tell us about this year's event, where it will be held, and what people can expect if they decide to participate in this year's event?
Sure. So Juneteenth historically was June 19th, because that's the day Black people in Texas were notified that they were no longer slaves. It took the Union Army that long to get there, even though the Civil War ended in April. It wasn't until June. So this year, we're commemorating it on Saturday, June the 18th. It'll be at West Bloomfield High School from 10 to 2. And if it rains, it'll be indoors. Last year, the rain cut it short, which was too bad. We had a great event going. This year, if there's inclement weather, we'll be inside. It's free. There'll be 40 African-American vendors. They are artisans, artists, entrepreneurs, and community partners. I know last year we had the Corvette Club in attendance, so we might have some nice objects like that for people to take a look at. There'll be a storyteller. There'll be a traditional libation ceremony, and it doesn't mean alcohol. They used water last year. So we'll have a lot of high school students performing, art, jazz band, things like that. It's a very welcoming and warm event, and interesting as well as meaningful. It's the type of event that's good for a community to come together.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great event. We had our team from Civic Center TV, their flagship here on the Megacast, out there for the celebration last year, and it was a wonderful day, and it really did show a nice example of the West Bloomfield community coming together, but also the greater community beyond West Bloomfield, also in celebration of an historically very important day as well. We're joined by Jonathan Warshay, West Bloomfield Township Trustee, with us on the Michigan Megacast, also happening in the greater West Bloomfield area, West Bloomfield and surrounding communities in Oakland County. Coming up very soon is the Michigan Week Community Awards Breakfast, where they celebrate volunteers in the community. Jonathan, can you speak to the impact that volunteers in West Bloomfield Township and in the surrounding areas have on the nature of this community that's there, and the commitment to service that's inspired by these volunteers all throughout different sectors of the community?
Sure. Well, we've already talked about the boards and commissions, and while some of them may get paid a nominal fee, given the amount of time they put into it, it's more like being a volunteer. But when you look at what United We Walk does, what the Social Justice Committee of the West Bloomfield Democrats is doing with Juneteenth, and by the way, I'll just give a plug for their website. It's www.juneteenthwb.org. When you look at what the Optimists do, the Rotary Club, the scholarships they do for the children, all the work they do for people in need, it's truly amazing. And that doesn't count what organizations that our taxes go to, like the library and Parks and Rec, all the things that they put on in the community. All of that goes to build a community, make it more inclusive for everyone. And, Michigan Week is just a small way of thanking everyone for all the work they do. I was taking a walk yesterday and saw a sign in front of someone's house saying that they were getting an award for being a volunteer for Michigan Week. And that type of recognition is just the type of thing we need to keep doing, and really thank everyone for their help.
Jonathan, before we let you go, anything else that we haven't touched on today that you'd like to discuss?
The only thing I will talk about is something that the township can't do is the streets. I don't know if folks know, but because we're a township, we don't own our streets. The county does. And they have certain priorities, main roads down to residential, and the money never trickles down to residential because they don't have it. And that's unfortunately why homeowners associations create districts to repair their streets. The costs have been going up. I've lived in my sub for 10 years and watched the streets deteriorate. I was told when I moved in it was $5,000 a house. Now I'm told it would be more than $20,000, which is quite a sum. I'm hoping that the state will do something about it to get more money to local areas so that we can afford to fix streets for our residents or have some type of program for that. But unfortunately, the township just doesn't collect that kind of revenue to be able to fix streets, and the county doesn't do it. And it's not really a good answer for folks. But unfortunately, that's the truth. And until the state changes the way it's doing the funding, we unfortunately have to pay for ourselves and our own subdivisions.
Jonathan, thank you for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Tyler.
Appreciate having you on. Let's take a break. On the other side, we'll talk to one of the many exceptionally talented artists participating in this year's Ann Arbor Street Art Fair. That's up next. This is the Michigan Megacast.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. To learn more about the program at civiccentertv.com/megacast, you'll find more information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV. With us now on the program is Jennifer Cherpak, the owner of Serenity Ceramics and one of hundreds of artists that you will find at this year's Ann Arbor Original Street Art Fair. Jennifer, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Tyler. Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So first, tell us a little bit about yourself and the art that you produce.
Well, I am a potter or ceramic artist, and I live in New Jersey. I'm here in my home studio in New Jersey. I work in porcelain clay, and I make functional and decorative items such as mugs, bowls, vases, and I'm excited to be part of the Ann Arbor Art Fair coming up in July.
Yeah, it'll be a very interesting event. It begins Thursday, July 21st. It goes until Saturday, July 23rd. It'll be featuring thousands of artists, 30 blocks of Ann Arbor. It's going to be a very fun event for all you art lovers out there. So for you, you are, as you said, a ceramic artist, you're a potter. When did that really, for no pun intended, cement itself as your art of choice?
Well, it really started for me, I guess, about 25 years ago. I always loved art in general. Even as a child, I took different art classes, painting, jewelry, all different types of things. And I actually didn't start out as an artist. I didn't go to school for it, but I went to school for business. I actually went to school and became a CPA because I had the influence of family and just that voice in my head telling me to do something practical with your life, something that will make money, and where you don't have to, worry about your career and your livelihood. So I did that, but I just couldn't get the art out of my system, really. So I started taking classes at a community art school after work at night. And I did painting at first, and then I did a little bit of sculpting, and then I went on the potter's wheel, and then that was it. I knew that's what I wanted to do, at least for a hobby. So it started out as that. But it took a while for me to get up the courage to slowly transition over to becoming a professional artist and doing that full time.
So where did that transition happen, and what ultimately did inspire you to say, I'm going to make this my career, I'm going to be the artist I've always been?
It happened about 20 years ago. So next year I'll be celebrating my 20th year in business. Thank you. And it really started because I made a life change where I moved from New Jersey to California. And I think getting away from the metropolitan area and being in a new place and being around new people and really not having any expectations and enjoying kind of the carefree lifestyle that was more a part of what it was like in Los Angeles, that made me feel a little bit freer to explore what I really wanted to do. So I continued to do my pottery there while I was still working part-time as an accountant. And I started to do some small little art fairs. I would go to the farmer's market once a week and set up my tent and bring out my wares. And I just really loved that. And the feedback I was getting was really great. And that encouraged me to keep doing that, do a little bit more and a little bit more. And then eventually I started doing some larger art fairs. And I did wind up coming back home to New Jersey about 18 years ago. And that's when I really focused on having my art career be, take off and really having that be the prominent source of income for me. It was definitely a learning curve, but was worth it in the end.
We're joined by Jennifer Cherpak, owner of Serenity Ceramics, who will be participating in the Ann Arbor Original Street Art Fair this summer, July 21st through 23rd in Ann Arbor, with us on the Michigan Megacast. And so for each individual artist, their inspiration can vary. Sometimes it's just whatever comes to mind in the moment, and you paint what you're thinking, you design what you're thinking, whatever comes to mind. And others draw inspiration from their life or from experiences or from something out in the world. For you, Jennifer, what inspires you in your art and in the ceramics that you're creating?
I think it was that transition of moving to a new place and being in an area where the land was so beautiful that I wanted to capture the beauty of the landscape, of the mountains and of the beach and the ocean waves and things. So to me, my work is all landscape. I love to capture the lines in the mountains and the ocean waves. And I try to pull the colors that are in nature and replicate them in my work and the different forms and lines.
And so during the pandemic, artists had a really tough time because these art shows, especially in the summers on the eastern side of the country and all throughout the year in the west, these art fairs weren't going on, or they were going on in any capacity. It was virtual, and it's a completely different environment. And I would imagine for artists who are traveling with their art, selling their art in these art fairs, it had to have been a really challenging time. Can you speak to how you and other artists as a community were able to weather through that, and how much of an inspiration it is to now be able to do that once again, and how that might impact your art going forward?
Yeah, it was definitely a difficult time for us, and along with everyone else. I think I went through different stages when it occurred. In the beginning, being from the East Coast, we got hit the hardest, in the beginning. So I think I kind of allowed myself not to worry too much about what was going on in my career for just the first couple of weeks. I was more focused on, is everyone going to be safe? Is my family going to be safe? So I had that in my head at the moment. And then once we realized that things were not going to be opening back up in 2 weeks, and this was going to be going on for a while, then I started to think about what I can do. And the artists as a community kind of got together on our social media platforms and our groups and discussed the different ways that we can get ourselves out there without actually being in person. So, and we also gave each other support and helping find different means of, the different grants that were available and how we could apply for unemployment and things like that could really, once we learned some information, we could share it with each other and help each other out. But it was definitely a transition of, once I learned that art fairs were going to be canceled and more were canceled, I had to think about what's the other way that I can get to my customers without actually seeing them in person. So I turned a lot more to the social media, and I created a website and, honed in on that. And it really forced me to think in a different way, which was a good thing in a way, because it did push me to try something new. It gave my customers a new way to see my work and to see a lot of the behind the scenes of what I do through my social media posts on Facebook and Instagram. So that was definitely a benefit. And going forward, I think, when things started to open back up, I think about June of 2021 was my first art fair. And it was amazing how the clients were so appreciative. Everybody was so happy to be back and about. And I'm so thankful that all the customers were so excited and able to support the artists again and did so.
We're joined by
going forward, it's been really supportive. The customers have really been supportive.
We're joined by Jennifer Cherpak, the owner of Serenity Ceramics, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. You'll be one of thousands of artists participating in the Ann Arbor Original Street Art Fair. That's going to be occurring Thursday, July 21st, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Also on Friday, July 22nd, and Saturday, July 23rd, 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. in a 30-block zone of Ann Arbor. More information on AnnArborArtFair.com, or I'll learn more about Jennifer's art by visiting her website, SerenityCeramics.com. That's SerenityCeramics.com. And Jennifer, have you participated previously in the Ann Arbor Original Street Art Fair, or will this be your first time?
I have. I think this will be my 7th year at the show.
So what about this show keeps bringing you back? Because it is a giant art fair. This is 30 blocks, over 1,000 artists. I'm sure there are, if not dozens in your category in ceramics and pottery, maybe even hundreds. Tons of competition. What keeps bringing you back to Ann Arbor?
I think it's has to do a lot with the energy of the show. It's not just an art fair that people will come and stop by. It's really an event that a lot of the patrons go out of their way to really plan. They either, have set up gatherings with friends, or it's a family event where they'll spend the whole day and see all the art and support the artists and the restaurants and watch the entertainment. So it's really a great energy that's there. And I have my clients that come back year after year. They'll come back and purchase again, or they'll come back to say how much they're enjoying their pieces. And it's really that sense of community and excitement that brings me back. We always say it's a tough show as for artists to do because of the long hours, and it's usually hot, but it's always worth it in the end because we always have a great time and enjoy it.
More information about the Ann Arbor Original Street Art Fair can be found on AnnArborArtFair.com. We're joined by one of thousands of artists you will see in that 30-block area of Ann Arbor, July 21st through 23rd. With more information at AnnArborArtFair.com. Jennifer Cherpak, owner of Serenity Ceramics, joins us on the Michigan Megacast. More information about her art is at SerenityCeramics.com. SerenityCeramics.com. You also, I understand, you won an award at the Ann Arbor Art Fair last year. Can you tell us about that award?
I did. I was really a lovely surprise. I won second best of show in the State Street area group. It was a really nice surprise and such an honor to be recognized, especially amongst so many talented artists.
So we don't want to give it all away. We want to leave some mystery so that people show up and are excited to find Serenity Ceramics at the Ann Arbor Original Street Art Fair. But what are some of the pieces that you are planning to be showcasing, or kinds of pieces you plan to be showcasing at this year's Ann Arbor Original Street Art Fair?
Well, my mugs are always my most popular item. So I have these mugs here that I will be showing. I have 2 different sizes, the small and a large one, for those really big coffee drinkers. And then some of my newer work that I have is I've been doing some more sculptural pieces where I have thrown them on the wheel, but then go through and do some carvings into them and really changing the surfaces of the pieces. So those are the types of pieces that I'm excited to show this year.
You can learn more about those pieces and many more at SerenityCeramics.com. You can also learn more about the Ann Arbor Original Street Art Fair by visiting AnnArborArtFair.com. That will occur Thursday and Friday, July 22nd, 21st and 22nd from 10 a.m. until 9 p.m. and Saturday, July 23rd, 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. Jennifer, anything else for us today before we will say goodbye?
I just want to say thank you for supporting the arts and come down to the Ann Arbor Art Fair. It's going to be a great time, and I appreciate you having me on.
Jennifer, thank you so much.
Thank you.
More information about her art at SerenityCeramics.com. That's SerenityCeramics.com. And keep up to date on everything happening at the Ann Arbor Original Street Art Fair, including all those hundreds and hundreds of artists and other events that will be happening in that 30-block zone of Ann Arbor, July 21st through 23rd at AnnArborArtFair.com. AnnArborArtFair.com. We're going to take a break on the Michigan Megacast. On the other side, when we come back, we'll talk jobs, jobs, jobs with Ryan Hunt from the Michigan Works Association. That's up next. This is the Michigan Megacast.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Now is the CEO of Michigan Works Association. Ryan Hunt is with us now on the Michigan Megacast. Ryan, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Tyler. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning.
Yeah, good to have you with us as well. So let's start off. For those that may be unfamiliar, can you tell us what the Michigan Works Association is and what it does to help workforce development in the state of Michigan, but also to help and advocate for workers in the state of Michigan?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the Michigan Works Association, we're a nonprofit based in Lansing, and you may have heard of the Michigan Works system in Michigan. Hopefully many of the viewers today are familiar with their local Michigan Works office. There are 16 Michigan Works agencies throughout the state of Michigan, strategically located throughout all corners of the state. Those 16 Michigan Works agencies have 66 service centers and 33 one-stop centers that are all physical locations throughout the state. And those facilities and the staff that are there in those buildings are there to serve both job seekers in our communities and employers who are looking to hire individuals each day in a range of industries, a range of occupations. So if you're looking for job seeker support, or if you're an employer looking to make some hires in your local community, the Michigan Works office, you can really think of it as an extension of your HR team there to support the hiring and the employability skills and the upskilling of our workforce here in the state of Michigan. And so the Michigan Works Association represents those 16 Michigan Works offices across the state. And we do that in three key buckets. The first bucket is primarily legislative advocacy at the federal and the state level. We recognize that workforce development is going to be a key component in ensuring that the state of Michigan remains on the right track toward long-term economic resiliency, especially as we hopefully start coming out of the pandemic a little bit more here in the coming months. We also focus on professional development. We host a number of workshops and training sessions for frontline Michigan Works staff at each of those 16 agencies across the state on an annual basis. We have a few that are actually going on this week. And then we also focus on raising the visibility of the workforce system in Michigan, and we do so through a number of key events throughout the year. We just had our annual Impact Awards in Lansing in late March, just a few weeks ago, where we had a winner from each of the 16 Michigan Works agencies. Some of them were employers, some of them were employees of companies in our communities, some were job seekers or community partners. And so through those efforts and awarding and recognizing those individual contributors to our economy, we're raising the visibility of all the things that our workforce system here in Michigan can accomplish through the Michigan Works system. And then we also have our annual conference coming up September 11th through the 13th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort in Mount Pleasant. That'll be our first in-person annual conference in over 2 years.
So Ryan, at this moment in time, given that, as you said, we're starting to, especially economically, come out from the throes of the pandemic, and socially and societally in Michigan and the U.S., across the world, we're seeing things sort of transition away from pandemic era behaviors and pandemic era precautions as of now, and that could change. But at this moment in time, where is Michigan economically, and especially with the job market in terms of availability, in terms of what is open, and in terms of what's being looked for in an employee by many of the companies that have these job openings?
Yep, great question. There's some good news and some bad news, right? The good news is Michigan's economic recovery from the pandemic continues to, I think, exceed expectations from many of us who have been living through and working with both employers and job seekers the last couple of years just to keep them engaged in the economy, make sure that the businesses have the right folks to hire, but also the job seekers have the right skills and the right resources to get into positions that are of higher wage quality, maybe an opportunity for them to continue upskilling themselves and being able to raise a family and support themselves in their community. So the good news is, again, the economy in Michigan continues to rebound quite extraordinarily. The bad news, however, is here in Michigan, we have a lower than average labor force participation rate when you look across the national economy right now. And that's due to a number of factors. Right here in Michigan, for example, the hospitality industry was one of the hardest hit industries in Michigan. And when you compare that to the hospitality industry across the entire nation, Michigan saw a rather dramatic effect in a negative fashion as a result of the pandemic, especially early on, in the spring and summer months of 2020. That has continued to rebound. However, we're still seeing a number of job openings in some of those areas in the hospitality industry in Michigan. And just as well as anybody, Tyler, we rely heavily on our tourism industry, not just in the summer months with beautiful northern Michigan. If you go to Traverse City or Alpena and you enjoy the beaches and the wonderful tourist destinations, but it's really a year-round tourist attraction for individuals, not just in the U.S., but globally as well. So we're doing all that we can to help support those workers in the hospitality industry and working with other partners like at the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association to help out with that industry. So the more that we can do to help increase the labor force participation rates in Michigan, we're happy to partner with other public stakeholders like the Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity, and also private stakeholders and companies to ensure that when they're looking for eligible qualified workers, they have the right resources in place. Maybe there's some federal or some state assistance they can tap into to help hire different populations, such as those who may have been previously incarcerated that are now returning to work, maybe individuals with disabilities, just kept trying to overturn any leaf that they can in order to find that qualified talent here in Michigan in order to raise those labor force participation rates.
We're joined by Ryan Hunt, the Chief Executive Officer of the Michigan Works Association, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on their website, michiganworks.org. That's michiganworks.org. For those who aren't qualified for certain jobs, what do you recommend to become more skilled or to put themselves in a more advantageous position to acquire some of these open jobs that they may be seeking at this time, whether they are currently at another job and continue to labor at that job, or are out of the job market at this point, maybe on unemployment or an expired unemployment?
Great question. What we're seeing right now, and this is not just here in Michigan, this is really nationally and in many cases globally, especially in some of our competing countries across the entire world. It's going to take a more educated, more qualified, better skilled workforce in order for us to compete in a 21st century global economy, especially in some of the driving industries like advanced manufacturing and technology. We're the state that put the world on wheels, and in order for us to continue maximizing our potential and winning the future in many of these driving industries, we know that we need folks who have more than just a high school diploma. We need people with post-secondary credentials. It may not necessarily be a associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, but we need folks with the right credentials and the right certifications in order for Michigan to remain globally competitive and globally relevant for that matter. And so you may have heard of Governor Whitmer's 60 by 30 initiative. And the goal there is by 2030, 60% of working age adults in Michigan would have some type of post-secondary degree or credential. And what we're seeing, if you look at the state's top 50 hot jobs through 2028, the bulk of those jobs are going to require some type of post-secondary credential or post-secondary degree. And so what we're encouraging individuals is to contact their local Michigan Works office in their community. You can get hooked up with a number of individuals who are the frontline staff there, and day in and day out, they're helping to serve as career coaches for job seekers and helping them align their passions and their interests with in-demand jobs of the future by upskilling themselves, looking for not only the technical skills that individuals need, but also the employability skills, or what's oftentimes referenced as soft skills. You think of time management, the ability to work in a team environment. Those are critical skills right now that can help set individuals apart from the rest of the competition if they're looking for new employment opportunities. And again, by engaging with their local Michigan Works office, there's a number of resources that individuals can tap into that can help offset the cost or maybe even eliminate the cost altogether for upskilling opportunities.
On the other side of that coin, you have these employers that are looking to fill a lot of these jobs. In some cases, they have a massive openings in their companies, in certain departments of their companies, certainly in certain industries. Like you had said, you had mentioned hospitality in particular is really hurting for employees at this time. You were quoted recently in a Detroit Free Press article that focused on the so-called Great Resignation, particularly focusing on restaurant workers, those in hospitality, restaurant workers, those working in hotels, and so on, and which you referred to that situation as the, quote, Great Upgrade, not Great Resignation. What do you mean by that, and how does that context play into what employers should be focusing on at this point to fill some of those job openings, given the current state of our market?
Sure. Yeah, when I mentioned the Great Upgrade, we've heard the phrase over the last couple of years, the Great Resignation. And I think when people hear that, they think people are just sitting on the sidelines, not willing to reengage in the economy. It's primarily impacting middle income to higher income white collar workers who are now resigning their positions and either not reengaging the economy or being very cautious about what they're going to do for their next career opportunity. What we're seeing in the information from here in Michigan and across the country is it's really should be the Great Upgrade is what it probably should be called, because that dynamic is more heavily impacting lower wage workers who may be looking for the next opportunity, and they may be leaving for a job that pays 50 cents an hour more or $1 an hour or more down the street. Or they're looking for opportunities to re-engage in the economy in a different occupation, in a different industry entirely. We've seen individuals that are leaving certain industries here in Michigan and across the U.S., and they're pursuing industries or occupations that are more in demand, that lead to higher wage, higher skilled positions. And so what we're doing right now in coordination with our Michigan Works agencies and our private sector audience throughout the state of Michigan is we're encouraging companies to look at ways that they can help either retain and or attract new employees into their company. And some of the ways that they can do that is by enhancing the corporate culture within their company, not just focusing on increasing wages. We have seen wages increase quite a bit through the course of the pandemic, especially in certain industries like the hospitality industry. But there's only so much that a private sector company can do to increase wages before that really starts to eat into their bottom line. But there are many other things that they can do in order to help enhance that corporate culture. Part of it, we've talked a little today about upskilling and training. Individuals and workers are looking for companies that are interested in not just having them come in and do the job 9 to 5, but they want a company that's going to make that recurring investment in their professional development. So upskilling and training is a great way for companies to show that return on investment for the individual workers that they have at their company. We're also seeing that cross training and job shadowing into different departments or different areas of a company can also help lead to long-term retention of employees, especially if you have a company who's starting at maybe the ground level on the production floor, but they want to move into a management position. Are there things that the company can be doing in the near term to help individuals get into some type of management track, whether that's in-house training or taking some courses at the local community college that are geared toward what the individual wants to do long-term? So the better long-term outlook that companies have in investing in their employees, we're seeing those companies are having better retention and attraction rates compared to their counterparts who may not be investing as much in those upskilling opportunities for their employees.
We're joined by Ryan Hunt, the Chief Executive Officer of Michigan Works Association, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information at michiganworks.org. That's michiganworks.org. How does inflation play into the job market at this time? For employers, I would imagine that means a lot higher costs, which means a lot less cash flow, lower revenue, less money to spend, particularly on employment, which then for employees looking to seek these jobs, they may have better opportunities. They may have opportunities for better pay in a similar position that's maybe a little bit lower in a company somewhere else than with certain companies. So just overall, what role has inflation played in this, and how long do you project, or does Michigan Works project, this could have an impact on employers and therefore on potential employees?
Man, that is a great question. I do not pretend to be an economist, and I did not sleep at a Holiday Inn last night, but I'll do my best to answer those questions for you, at least what we're seeing right now and kind of what we're hearing from some of our subject matter experts on the topic of inflation. Consumer demand has not slowed down. So even though we're seeing inflation and the rising cost of goods and services across the board, not only for individual families to afford the basic necessities, but also for cost of goods and services for businesses to be able to do their jobs and for workers to be able to do their jobs. That consumer demand is helping to kind of offset some of the inflationary dynamics that you may typically see ahead of perhaps a slight or deep recession in a state or national economy. But because of that consumer demand, companies are still hiring. We're not seeing really any slowdown in the job market right now. We're still having a number of companies in a range of industries that are continuously hiring, looking for that next best and brightest talent. And for workers as well, that inflation has led to an increase in wages, which you would think is oftentimes a good thing for wages to be able to increase. The problem that we're running into now that we're seeing here in the US and across the globe is inflation is actually rising faster than wage increases are. But now we're also running into the dynamic where companies who have been raising their wages for the last couple of years cannot afford to raise their wages much more without cutting into that bottom line. So what the future holds for us here in Michigan and across the national economy, I think, is yet to be seen. Because of that consumer demand, I think we'll see that inflation will continue, maybe not at the level of 8.5% like we saw in March. I know some economists are projecting that the inflation will start to perhaps dip a little bit, which will provide hopefully some relief for the cost of basic goods and necessities for individuals and their families. The other dynamic we have to think about as well, we had a recession back in 2007, 2008, 2009. Michigan was one of the states that was hit hardest across the entire nation when it came to the Great Recession a little over a decade ago. I think the difference in dynamics this time around is the job shortages that companies are running into, where they have a shortage of workers, but they have a number of different job openings. And we've seen over the course of the pandemic quite a few, millions of people that have retired and maybe expedited their retirement because of the pandemic. And we're not expecting those individuals to re-engage in the economy. So even if we do see a slight slowdown in the hiring of employees, maybe it's just simply that companies won't hire as many people as they would have necessarily projected due to any particular slowdown. That also may just be the optimist in me, but I'm hopeful that as a nation and as a state, we can weather any storm that is coming due because of the inflationary dynamic. But at the end of the day, we're here to support the job seekers in order to upskill themselves to better support their individual lives and their families. We're also here to support the businesses who are looking to hire those individuals as well, whether, regardless of the inflation rate right now. But I know that we're tracking that very carefully, and I know that it will have significant impact, probably in the medium term, I would say, here in Michigan, not necessarily any short-term fixes. And I'm scared to make any long-term projections, but I would say inflation is certainly here to serve as a dynamic impacting labor force participation here in Michigan and nationally, probably, at least for the next several months, if not longer.
Ryan, anything else that we should be keeping in mind right now in terms of Michigan Works' opportunity to help employers and employees alike?
Sure. Again, I mentioned this at the very beginning of the interview today. Workforce development is a critical component to ensuring that Michigan remains on the track toward long-term economic resiliency. We're starting to get into budget discussions here in Michigan for fiscal year 23, also talking with federal lawmakers about appropriations for the upcoming fiscal year as it relates to workforce development. Again, we encourage both job seekers and companies to communicate and contact their local Michigan Works office. There are a number of different resources and opportunities to help offset the cost of training, perhaps even eliminate or lower some barriers that individuals may be running into when it comes to sustained employability. one program that we've had a huge amount of success over the past 6 or 7 years here in Michigan is the Going Pro Talent Fund, formerly known as the Skilled Trades Training Fund. That program last year in fiscal year 22 was funded at $40 million throughout the state of Michigan. That program helps companies offset the cost of training. They can receive a reimbursement of up to $1,500 per eligible trainee or up to $3,000 per new apprentice at their company. And we expect to continue supporting that program in fiscal year 23 and beyond, thanks to the support. It's actually really a bipartisan support, not only from the governor's office, but on both sides of the aisle in the State House and the State Senate. And so for companies, again, that's just another resource that they can utilize to help upskill their employees and really help enrich the corporate culture at their company to reinvest in their workers.
Ryan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
City,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners, working together to protect our water resources. We agree.
Pet waste is a source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. For more information, it's on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll learn about our entire network of stations, find all of our programs on demand. That's both our full episodes and each individual interview from today's episode, as well as previous editions of the Megacast, dating all the way back to March of 2020. That is going to do it for today's edition of the program. Again, on civiccentertv.com/megacast, you can find us on demand, and of course, links to each and every one of our partnering TV, radio, and web outlets that join us every day. Learn more about the programming they do in the other 22 hours of the day, Monday through Friday, that they're not joining us live for our live program or joining us live to tape, and find out more about the ways that they serve their specific communities and areas of Michigan. That all makes up the Michigan Megacast and the Oakland County Megacast. We also highly encourage you to go to our coronavirus page at civiccentertv.com/local-news to keep up to date on COVID-19 information from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division, and find the stories that are making headlines all across the state of Michigan each and every day before our programs. We will keep all those stories listed on that website until the Monday of the next week over, when we start new editions of the Megacast right there, civiccentertv.com/local-news. Big thank you to our crew that makes this program possible 5 days a week, each and every week, live for 2 hours a day. Calvin Brown, our technical director, with me in the studio. Jared Clark, our Zoom producer at the office of My Michigan TV in the bustling metropolis of Troy, Michigan. And the king of television himself, Larry Nyland, our producer, helping all the guests and us prepare for informative conversations each and every day. On My Michigan TV, Steve Lato Live is next, followed by Larry and Ronnie Live. We'll return on Thursday with a new Megacast.